Who's that?
Who is this?
Oh, that's the other Paul. As if it wasn't confusing enough, because on another podcast I do, there's another Paul. So now there's two Pauls. On this podcast,
There's always a Paul.
There's always a Paul. There's always a pull for the Pauls.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. You're very welcome back. We've been on a little bit of a break. Thanks very much to Paul's other half.
Sure
of
tastes
these,
good out of these cups.
This fine coffee sponsored by...
This is my wife's crafting business, signed, sealed, delivered. She gave us some wonderful cups. Thank you, Aoife.
Thanks, Aoife. You're a star. We really appreciate it.
Legend, Aoife.
Hello, everyone. It's been a kind of a mad 2 or 3 weeks with peaks and troughs and gifts from Santa Claus and gifts from, ultimately we hope the gifts in January are Martinez and Casemiro. There's loads to get through. I suppose the first thing to do is to have a little chat about the Jadon Sancho affair.
Mm-hmm. Still here.
Still here. And you know who is also here? Paul O'Brien, our brand new host.
Mm-hmm.
That is me.
Hello.
Welcome.
And it's Paul O'Brien with a B-R-Y-A-N as
That is
opposed to
correct.
I-E-N. When I should know because I know you about 10 years. But there you go.
And unlike Jadon Sancho, I will train hard.
I'll do everything. The Sancho situation, I'll start with you, Paul. I don't even think he's finally gone. I don't think he's gone. Like, I think he's somewhere hiding in Carrington somewhere.
It's a strange one with Sancho. He was one of the players, and it's a rarity at Man United, who you're really keen to sign because you know them. The likes of Tevez or Hargreaves or Van Persie. We don't really sign superstars. Because we didn't know Vidic or ever before that. But Sancho, I was a big fan of at Dortmund. Yeah. Absolutely delighted to get him. Gutted we didn't get him the season before. And in all honesty, I've liked him when I've seen him play. Yeah. He scored that goal last season against Liverpool, our first win of the season. Kind of really cemented himself at Old Trafford and that. But his attitude does seem appalling. It does. I don't know if it was just something to do with a lack of training, but
I don't know. To me, it just seems like, even if he is right in the situation, there's an element of respecting your position and what position you're in at the club, and respecting your elders, really. When you're at that age, there are times when you have to back down, no matter what your position in life, sometimes because of your lack of experience, And for that reason alone, I think he should have apologised to the manager, and just coming out on social media like that the way he did just wouldn't have happened in the past. As recently as, well, it would have happened in the last two managers. But, there's just a trait of this now where they feel as if they're bigger than the club and that their position as footballers is bigger than any club, and it has to stop. And if it means cancelling contracts, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your position on him, Iman?
Well, I agree with what Paul said, that when we first signed him, I think everyone was ecstatic. Because I still remember when the fee was announced, it was like £72 million, and everyone was saying that's a steal. That's the type of player you thought you were getting, because the numbers he was putting up at Dortmund were, quite frankly, like a joke. It was absolutely crazy what he was doing in Germany, and for the amount of money back then for the player you thought you were getting, everyone was delighted. And I think this one probably hurts even more than the Paul Pogba's or whatever, just based on what you thought you were getting and what you got in the end. And then the way that it's ended, it's been nothing short of disastrous, really. And it's really sad because we thought we had that right wing that's, plagued this team for so long, finally sorted, and just nothing's come of it again,
Yeah, it's just like everybody else, we're just incredibly disappointed that it didn't work out. It's like the perfect woman who just happened to be really lazy.
Yeah.
And just didn't want to do any work. I don't think there's any way back, is there? Not under this manager. There may be a way back afterwards.
I don't think so. If it doesn't work out, there's loads of players that come and go. It doesn't work out, and there's many reasons for it, But if someone doesn't put in the effort, I think that's the biggest difference in this situation is he didn't put in the effort, and now we've seen all the reports, even going back to his Dortmund days, of his tardiness, of his lack of effort. It's something that's been going on for a while. So in this case, you could argue for other players it was the wrong move, the environment wasn't great. In this case, you have to kind of blame him for not putting in the effort, So you can't get any sympathy for that.
It just mystifies me because I think most people would agree that last season was a good season for the team. So how can people down tools so easily? Like if last season was rubbish, you'd understand that there might be an element of, well, I'm not on board with this guy, so I'm going to start a revolt.
Speaking of that,
that's why I hate him more.
Situation last season where he went missing for a long period of the season for personal reasons, and it was my understanding that Eric Ten Hag was helping with his mental health and getting him independently fit. I think he was training in Germany or something like that. So the club seems to have gone above and beyond for him, knowing his worth and talent as a player. Yeah, and that even seems like a slap in the face now.
If you work for any employer and they send you away on a wellness retreat or whatever, and you come back and you're still acting the bollocks, you're gonna get sacked.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big reasons why the falling out was so big. You know, even though like one Instagram post, maybe it's not such a big deal, but just the manner of that, you know, after then they've backed him for so long, and then just to be thrown under the bus like that, it's unacceptable, really.
What about, speaking of midfielders that should have been the best player in the world, Donny van der Beek.
Who?
He is the best player in the world. So I think I'm in the minority of Man United fans who is absolutely gutted to see him go. Nobody seemingly has ever seen him. I liked him in pre-season. I thought he never put a foot wrong. Yeah. When we signed him for 40 million, speaking of steals, he was on the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, he
was. Yeah.
Real Madrid were in talks with him. There was, as far as I know, Barcelona. We took him, and his interview before joining United.
I love the club. Look, it seemed as if he was going to be the next big thing, and I think this is the thing. And there was an element of everybody collectively waiting for him to come good, but it just never really happened.
Yeah.
There was little flashes here and there where he looked into it, but there was a lot of games where he only started 6 or 7 games in his whole United for a start to say. Secondly, when he came on, he just always seemed to be just like a dog chasing their own tail.
Yeah,
there was no cohesion. He didn't really seem to. Now I don't know whether that's because both managers, three managers didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah. Do you think it was maybe a confidence thing, because he probably occupies the same space as Bruno does? I think we can all agree Bruno's the better player. And you can't have two guys in that space, you know, they're just getting in each other's way. So maybe just being second fiddle to Bruno just took a hit on his confidence, and he never recovered from that, you know, because every time he was out there, he looked a bit scared.
Yeah, he did look a bit scared. But in terms of how he looked when he was coming on, at least once per game or once per match, I'd see him do a moment of something where I think,
he had a great touch.
He should be in the team. Yeah, he had a great touch.
His quality.
He was never on a par with Bruno, and that was never going to happen. Yeah. And in fact, I think you'd probably bring in another replacement in that position again before Donny would take it.
You'd have to say that Bruno at his worst is still better than Donny at his best that we'd seen at United. So it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. But he's the opposite of Sancho, you know, great player, just didn't work out, and you can't blame the guy for it. Yeah. And we know he tried his best.
Respectful as well with the thank yous.
Always professional, you know, always giving his all. So it's the complete opposite of Sancho, you know, and all the best to him in Frankfurt, which is a great club to go to. So
great club, terrible city. Because I was there recently, and I've never been so afraid walking around the streets. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I was
from the north side.
But I was followed. Yeah, I am. But I was literally followed about 4 or 5 times, and I was only there for two days. But anyway, good luck in Frankfurt, because you know, I hope you have a more enjoyable experience, Donny, there than I had. You know, there's a lot of things happening. There was 2 kind of polar opposite results. Obviously one on Stevens' day that you were at.
I was there.
And you nearly did a George Best and fucked off at half time.
The people next to me actually did.
Did they?
Yeah, there was 2 people sitting next to me on the left at half time when we were 2-0 down. So I just got more space to, you know, hop around when all 3 went in. It was incredible to be there. That's the second time I've been there where we were 2-0 down at half time and we come back to win 3-2. I think I just need to go every game. I'm a good luck charm, apparently.
Yeah, obviously. Like such contrasts. It's like, yet again, it's like, okay, here's the season kicking off. Here we go. Yeah. And then it's like,
false starts, you know, over and over again. It was the character in the Villa game, you know. It was the first time we'd seen fight in a long time.
And it was who we were playing as well, considering where Forest are.
Yeah. And like when I was there, like when the first goal when Garnacho's first goal was ruled offside, there was this feeling I could feel in the ground, and I was talking to the guy beside me thinking, like, they're going to win this 3-2. It's going to happen. Like, there was almost no doubt in it because you could see the fight. And when the fight's there, there's just nothing stopping them. You know, they're good enough to do that. It's just that they show up, you know, against Forest with no fight at all and get turned over, you know.
Wow, it's crazy to think what happened there because, yeah, it did feel like a false start to the season. I was going, well, even the pre-match, I did predict that we seemed to go great against Chelsea, lose, come back, and then it's tentative. I thought we were going to have a draw. But to get beaten in the manner we got beaten was horrendous.
It's played off the park, you know. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, it was just incredibly frustrating. It's just, have we learned absolutely nothing? And the fact that, like, and this is the thing, I mean, when we do get, inevitably, the players that we are waiting to come back, and this is still happening. And it's like, oh, they need time to gel again, or, you know, Martinez needs 6 games to get back to match or, you know, Casemiro's been out and we have to wait for him. It just doesn't happen with other clubs, so we have to stop making excuses for them when that happens.
Can't wait for Martinez to be back though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he along with Bruno, when Bruno's hands are in the air, he represents everything that I like about the club. That type of player, like 10 or 11 players in every match day squad over the last 30 years were like Martinez. It wasn't just him. It wasn't just 1 or 2 players. What do you think he'll bring to the team when he's back, or what have we been missing, or is he the magic trump card answer that we've been waiting for the first half of the season?
No. I love Martinez. I do. No. He's not the magic answer. He's going to be beside, and no offence to Johnny Evans, he's been an absolute stalwart for the club in his career. He's going to be put beside Johnny Evans. They're not going to connect, and it is going to take, as you said, around 6 games for him to start getting his feet back. And that was a pretty horrendous injury he took as well, off the back of a pretty bad one last season too. So, and
it was the same injury, wasn't it? I think, or
similar. Was it reoccurring? I'm not too sure.
I think it was.
I think Casemiro coming back with him is a factor because they have a good understanding of each other's play, and they seem to. Martinez seems to find Casemiro on the ball a lot of the time, where Lindelof has one good pass in 10, and he'll find a forward player. He doesn't need to go to midfield. So I think we had that connect with Martinez. If they come back at the same time, but their fitness is going to be a factor with Casemiro, given his age, given how long he's been out. And there's been a lot of talk of has his talent and skill started to decline over the start of this season. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him, but I just don't think, sadly, that Martinez is the magic answer. But I'd love to be wrong.
Can't do it himself, you know.
Yeah,
he'll bring some courage and some fighting spirit, but he can't do it by himself. It could, you know, spread throughout the team once he's on the pitch, but it's hard to tell, you know. We can hope for the best. I just love him, so I just want to see him out there, you know.
I've a note here. Lost to Forest quickly. Are there any takeaways from that?
Anthony Lang is a very good player, isn't
he? We sold the wrong Anthony.
Let's talk. We just before Christmas we did kind of an ins and outs, but based on kind of some updated information. Who out there? Like, obviously we need a forward, but who is out there that could potentially make us in any way stronger, in say up front or in the midfield?
It's hard to think of anyone, you know. Maybe Osimhen at Napoli, but that's going to be like 100 and something million
signing type of player.
Yeah, isn't it? I don't think we're going to get anyone in January.
I thought that Timo Werner was a good player to be linked to. I think he's very Erik ten Hag. I think he would have done well there, given his pace and his speed. Where a lot of our attack is not seeing the last part of the pitch, where Timo will run into that space. I think he could have been well, but there is one player who I think might get linked to us. It could be Sebastian Haller.
That wouldn't be a bad shot, to be fair. Also a former Ten Hag player, so it makes sense.
Well, we're definitely getting him.
Yeah.
Is anything to be said for Thomas Muller? Is it Muller time?
5 years ago,
Muller
absolutely. He was one of my favourite players, you know, ever since I've been watching football. Like, you know, I think he's brilliant. 5 years too late.
But
You know?
do we need someone who's just going to fucking shithouse everyone? We've no shithousing.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And Muller was never exactly renowned for his pace and his
No.
speed, and so it's not like that is an attribute he was bringing. So he still retained all of his really great
when we were
attributes.
kids, like he'd be called when we were kids like a hatcher.
Yeah.
Someone who just kind of sit up there and wait for the ball to come.
I do it really well.
He was so good at it, you know. The most intelligent player on the pitch by miles.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't think it would be a bad shout. Just to, you know, not on a kind of. I don't think you come in and have say the same impact of a Larson or a,
Yeah.
you know, one of those weird impact short-term signings. you
Yeah.
know.
Well, the other name I saw was Choupo-Moting.
I don't even know who that is.
No.
Is that like some gypsy on a motorway?
The greatest career path I've ever seen. Relegated with Stoke and straight to Paris Saint-Germain to play alongside Messi and then off to Bayern Munich. It's incredible.
I just think we need someone who could be just a little bit of a shithouser, just someone who's up, throwing elbows around and going, like when someone falls down and just, you know, getting stuck in a way that maybe our forward line haven't been.
Yeah. Just someone really annoying.
Yeah.
Neil Mopay or something.
Yeah, like a fucking like a what's your man's name? Mickey Quinn or a fucking one of those type, just big lumps that are just there in the middle.
Wout Weghorst.
Yeah, like a Weghorst.
I like the look of that lad.
The pain of the Weghorst thing. The Weghorst, I don't know if you're fans of him or whatever, and it probably is one of the biggest downgrades in football history, going from Ronaldo to Weghorst. But the Weghorst situation bugged me because it's such a rare thing to become a Premier League player, to be given that opportunity.
Oh yeah.
An even rarer thing to be a Manchester United player and be given that opportunity. And for me, Weghorst never stood up and was counted on that pitch. He played it safe way too much. Yeah. He didn't want to get involved. He didn't want to put a foot wrong. And he just never stood up where, like, this previous season we had a Gallo come in who was fighting tooth and nail, and he wasn't the most fan favourite in the world, but my God, he gave everything he could to the club. Weghorst just wanted to play it safe and stay out of dodge and not get into too much trouble on the pitch, and you get one opportunity to play for Man United and he just wasted it to me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you look at I'm always appreciative of players that come in and say the right things. Like Amrabat when he came in, I love this club, I've always wanted to play for this club. You know, Weghorst was akin to that. He was like, you know, they're a really big club. I love it. I love the stadium. Blah 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 blah. Is it true what Ten Hag came out yesterday in his press conference before the FA Cup game, and he said, particularly around Donny's situation, and he was like, Man United are the hardest club in the world to play for, and that's a huge statement to make. Yeah. Because it's finally a bit of acknowledgement that the club in general is you know a cross to carry.
Yeah.
Now, is it the hardest club in the world to play for because we're a particularly hard team to play for, or is it a hard club to play for because we're just a bag of shite?
It's probably a element of both.
Commercial jinx.
Yeah.
You know, we're like a coursed commercial entity, you know?
No, I obviously right now it definitely is. You know, anyone coming in, you're tasked with returning this club to the glory days. That's what people are saying to you when you come in, and you're going to be under constant scrutiny about everything, you know? And I think it's kind of easy to like sit back and say like, oh, he doesn't have the mentality for it, whatever. Sometimes it might be important to remember that is a lot of pressure these guys are playing under every week, you know? And some people are just not built for it, and that's fine. You know, like no one should be like people that can operate at that stress level are superhuman, you know, and we should look up to them rather than put down the others. I think a little bit, you know, except Jaden.
Yeah. Get your coat, son. Get your coat. Yeah, just a couple of other touch points as well. Why are we signing players that are going away for a month playing at international competitions? Like, you know, it was my understanding that when we signed Onana, it's because he had retired from international football. Mm-hmm. The last thing we need right now is like 4 weeks of Massimo Taibi. Because we have no idea if Ballander's any use or Ballander.
Still have never seen the man catch a ball.
I've never seen him
kick a ball,
do anything.
Step up Tom Heaton.
That's what we're saying.
Probably will. He probably like. For a start, it's mystifying to me that he's not going to start one of the reserve keepers in the FA Cup game, as I understand it at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But it's like why have we not seen more of this keeper if he knew it was coming?
Yeah, surely he has to play against Wigan. Surely.
You'd have to put him in, wouldn't you?
Just to give him some time, just out there.
Or is it too risky because it's a cup game? I don't know.
There's always the absolutely excellent keeper that we let go and we could go back in for, Lee Grant.
David de Grant.
Is he not still there as a coach?
No, he's working in the canteen.
Oh, is he? Still putting smiles on people's faces.
He never played, right?
No,
Lee Grant. He never actually.
No,
I think he played a couple of pre-season games, and
no, he never got for. He was a coach for a while just before. But he's gone proper now.
But everyone loves him.
Apparently he was a
bring him back.
Popular figure in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Radcliffe. He was there. They had a really interesting meeting for a couple of hours.
He talked to me.
We saw eye to eye on the number of subjects. And, so what do we reckon? How significant is 25% of Man United? Let's have a little look or a little talk in general about Ineos, Brailsford, what all of this means. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just masking for a while?
I think a lot of the noise right now is 25%. Even though he's taken over the football aspects of the club, it's probably not enough to make significant changes. Which I can kind of see that argument, but at the same time, my argument is this is the first bit of hope we felt in 18 years. Just let us have it. It doesn't matter if anything happens from this, It's just a brief glimmer of hope, and just let us have it. That's all we ask.
Yeah, I think I have a certain level of optimism with this as well. I know that Ineos have had some failures in the past with taking over companies and it's not gone to plan, but Radcliffe being a lifelong Man United fan. But one thing that did stand out to me in the Eric Ten Hag interview was the pictures that emerged from Old Trafford and Carrington, and he's in and around the staff and the players and the club, and he's immersing himself in the culture, whereas apparently, and I don't know how true it is, but the Glazers have never stepped foot into these rooms and interacted with people. So I think that on its own is a great thing to see, and I am happy with the whole transfers.
He does look a little bit like he's won a competition though when he's there. He's just kind of it's like Postman Pat won a competition.
He's like one of us, just bought Man United, and I love it.
The check will bounce now next week. On his picture.
But it looks
I'm
like
a local boy. I'm from Manchester.
He looks like he's bringing in some really good people, like Jean-Claude Blanc as the CEO. He's done great things with Juventus, some would say commercialization of Juventus, but I would look at it as the commercial success of Juventus. Yeah. And then Sir Dave Brailsford, who I'm really excited about. I was reading about is it the 1% improvement theory that he has, that if you improve everything by 1%, it leads to an overall better outcome. And I was reading in depth into it. It's not even team performance. It's down to the really minute details.
Yeah.
And what he's done with the Great Britain cycling team is nothing short of incredible. And if you can do any sort of impact like that on this club, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, Brailsford is very impressive. I mean, he did a podcast recently with Diary of a CEO, and he was obviously couldn't talk a great deal about Man United, but it's that kind of monster mentality.
Yeah.
Like the devil is in the detail in becoming better. It's like anything. It's like this podcast, Obviously, you have to spend a little bit of time adjusting and establishing yourself. And then for things to grow, you need to make minute changes in order to get better.
Like these wonderful cups.
Like these wonderful cups. Week by week. If you build it, they will come. And if you listen to Connor, it will get bigger. But it is that thing. And he like his success in other sporting endeavours kind of goes without saying. But he's never worked for a football club specifically. Was he involved at Nice? I don't think he was.
I think he was a little bit. Yeah. I think he's more there for that philosophy and the structure he's going to put in place for that 1% improvement, as he says. I think they're finally looking to hiring a director of football. which will be massive. How are we the only big club in Europe without a director of football? I'll never know.
And I hope it's not Darren Fletcher or Rio Ferdinand, which was touted as our potential director of football prior.
Yeah.
I love Rio and I love Darren Fletcher, but they have no business being our director of football.
No.
I hope it's actually somebody with some merit. And
I think they're looking at Dan Ashworth, who was at
Newcastle.
Who's done a fantastic job, building that
right.
team.
I actually seen that Dan Ashford, and I mistook it for Mike Ashley.
No, don't pick him.
We're looking at Mike Ashley.
Yeah, he's not great. Let's be honest.
Sports Direct over the front of the shirt.
No,
it's great.
It's I mean, let's look at a couple of other things as well, which are kind of prevalent now going forward. There are huge positives. Like it's you remember like Mourinho's rant about investments for the future. When he cited other players from different clubs and how they were investments for the future. Like, is it a typical football fan situation where we're just flying off the handle and it's like, lads, this is all part of the plan? Yes, we've had a terrible 6 or 8 months, right? But that's all part of it all. It is part of a project. It is to follow the project. Is the Garnacho, Hoyland, Maino thing, like, is that all of what this was all been about? Is finding 2 or 3, 4 structured talents that are going to be there for 10 years. This is the football heritage. Football heritage. Like, this is what he's been doing. Yeah. Like, I mean, you look at every single squad, even the Premier League winning squads that Fergie had. He had dead wood in a number of positions, but he got the most out of those players. And he moved players on constantly. Is it any different with Ten Hag now, comparable to what Ferguson has always done? Are we just?
Well, I wouldn't say
from game to game, it's like Ten Hag, I in, and it's mostly in. But after the Forest game, I was really thinking, right, maybe it's time for a Zidane. Maybe it's time for someone just for a season, in the same way we brought in Van Persie, who's just like, get him in, give it gigs till the end of the season type stuff.
Bring Zidane back.
Yeah.
What was that saying? Give me Zidane and 10 planks of wood and I'll win you the Champions League.
So, are we right to be critical of him at all?
I think so, yes, but I don't want him to go. I don't have it in me to go to another philosophy rebuild and another squad rebuild. I want him. As harsh as it sounds, I think the man should be allowed to finish in 8th. If that was the worst case scenario, because I think Moisey got us down to 7th. And finish, but just let him build, let him do what he's doing. I think his tactical prowess can let him down sometimes, much like Ollie's did. For me, Ollie's tactics are extremely frustrating. If we were on the front foot, we were good. If we went behind, he was lost. He left substitutions far too late. Thing for me happened with Wolves. Ollie was on a great run, and then we played Wolves, and they absolutely played us off the park. And that was our first defeat under Ollie. And I thought, right, this is your test. Yeah, you now have to come back from this, and you have to know how to do it. We played Wolves 3 times in the 2-week period there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and we lost to them another 2 times, and I thought, you've just got very lucky, and now you don't have an answer. And I'm starting. Well, I don't think that's the Ten Hag thing, but there's no excuse for losing against Nottingham Forest, and he has to sort out. I don't know if it's the lack of coaching or the lack of what's going on there, but there's nothing going forward. Rasmus Højlund he might as well be texting or there's nothing to do on the pitch. God love him.
Well, you can support the manager, but you can still criticize some of his shortcomings, I guess, or his weaknesses. Yeah. But he's growing as well. If there's I believe if there's a direction in the club with the football director, I think things will fall into place a bit better, because I think he's just holding down everything by himself at the moment, on his own.
Well, Freniak was supposed to be the director of football. Or
yeah,
something to do,
he was supposed to move upstairs when we got full time.
But they didn't want to work together.
An interesting moment with Ralph Rangnick, because I'm hearing a lot of praise for the man now, and I'm seeing this interview with him, and he's like, it's open heart surgery. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, Ralph Rangnick, so what you did was you played Football Manager, and then you went on an interview and you listed the top 9 youth prospects of Football Manager and said we should sign them. Oh, we should get Gavardiol, or we should get Luis Diaz, we should get... sure,
Yeah.
he would
Well,
play football
anyone
manager.
could go, yeah, I prefer him, and let's get him.
He didn't say anything of real merit. He just listed 9 of the best youth prospects in the world and said, I wanted to sign them.
Yeah, and
He
it's
also called the club like shit. So
Boy, Ralph.
which I respected him for.
but yeah, I see where you're going with that. And anyone in retrospect, as a parting shot gone out the door, could say, well, I suggested you buy 5 or 6 players.
Mm-hmm.
And then if 3 of those players become 3 of the best players in the league 2 years later,
Yeah.
there's always an element of retrospective, I told you so.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is results.
Yeah.
We're not winning games as frequently as we need to be.
Yeah.
And look, I think that the major problem that we're having this season, apart from the overwhelmingly bad luck with injuries, and people and they're kind of right, because there's a Man United, tax on negative vibes that we get regardless of what we do because of the club that we are, and that's understandable. But I mean, you just have to look at stats and try to be as objective as possible and go, other teams that have been through similar runs of bad luck like that have got much more sympathy from the general media.
Liverpool 12 months ago.
Yeah, like Liverpool last season, nobody was.
Or Arsenal right now.
Yeah.
They're absolutely faltering.
1-7.
Yeah, and you don't hear anything about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're certainly less critical, or they get a little bit of a pass. Silver linings kind of going forward. Maybe it's our year for the FA Cup again?
That'd be nice.
That would be nice.
See, it's a tricky one because I think that the FA Cup is coming at a bad time for us because we lose every match. No, all joking aside, generally in the league the problem is that we're not drawing enough. We're not drawing and we're losing away from home. But in the cup, I think that if we can squeeze by a very tricky Wigan, which is a local derby, and they will be playing 110% against us.
Yeah.
I think we could have a good run again. And if we won another cup this year, you'd have to say, even if we don't finish in the top 4, that's still kind of progress. It's a better cup than the one we won the season before. So you'd have to say that it's kind of positive.
Yeah, you'd think just hypothetically you should beat Wigan, but I have no idea what to expect from this Wigan team. Yeah. I have no idea what they play like, who they have. We'll see.
So
Wigan were the iceberg catalyst, which started that moment for us.
Yes.
We
That's
beat
Steve
us 1-0.
Sidwell header, wasn't it, in the final?
DW stayed and beat us, and then Everton on it. Was it 3-3 or 4-3? And then City beat us on goal difference with that Aguero goal.
Yeah.
We had just got that draw against Wigan. We won the league.
But did they not beat City in the FA Cup final?
They did.
In 13,
Yeah, Steve Sidwell with the header off the corner. Fantastic.
Steve Sidwell played for everybody.
He did.
Everybody.
Wore number 9 for Chelsea.
He was. I seen an interview with him recently when he was saying he was embarrassed, but his mates were all Chelsea fans.
Yeah.
To give you number 9.
Well, I think then they took it off him and gave it to Khalid Boularus, which was even better.
Let's talk a little bit about Garnacho. How do we feel about Garnacho now?
I'm on the hype train, but I'm willing to admit I could be looking at him with rose tinted glasses because I want him to succeed. But in all honesty, every time I see the boy, he's class.
Yeah.
He is. I like his hunger, his desire, his skill set. You can see that he's adores Ronaldo and that he's basing his career off that sort of path.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Garnacho.
Yeah, he does go missing in a few games. But that's to be expected from a 19-year-old kid. We have to give him time. I think it's probably way too much pressure on him for him to be carrying this team at the moment. He's going to get touched by the United curse and he's going to fall off. I remember Januzaj's first season when he came through and we were all.
I still think Januzaj is a fantastic player.
Yeah. This year's his year off the bench.
Definitely, he remained in the Belgium squad.
Where is he now?
Associate.
He's in the canteen next to Lee Grant.
No, he's. Is he still at Sociedad?
He went. No, he left and then he's gone on loan from his parents' club to another club. But
his parents' club.
His parents' club. I can't quite remember. He's gone from Sociedad. He went. I think he's in another team in Spain, but he's on loan.
Yeah,
but he's gonna get the Ballon d'Or eventually.
And not to compare, Garnacha to him, but it's just it's always good to keep your hype in check, I guess. But he's got all the talent and all the drive to become a world class player. I think it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, he's playing for Seville. I didn't know that.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, and he's only 28, so we can still re-sign him.
Yeah, bring him
Is
back.
he on loan from Seville? Because
he's on loan from United.
The United canteen.
Because we had that €13 million buyback clause.
He's making some tapas in the Sevilla canteen.
How do we feel about
Federico Macheda?
Macheda for the win. How do we feel about
Chris Eagles was my biggest one. I thought he would be great.
Yeah, we're going to buy him again. We're going to re-sign him.
Chris Eagles was class.
We joke, but our team right now could really use a Chris Eagles and an Adnan Januzaj and a 58-year-old Gary Palestine.
Martial.
Martial's a kind of a heartbreaking one because
what's he fucking doing? Ten Hag saying in his last press conference that they're negotiating contracts with him.
Oh, God. Are they?
He said that. He said that. You know, he didn't mention him specifically by name, but he mentioned him as a couple of players that are negotiating new contracts.
It's always a strange one that at Man United, why they do that, because they done it with Phil Jones for a number of years where, as you were saying earlier, why is there this reluctancy to cut people loose?
Yeah.
Unless it's the whole Patrice Evra scenario where they have a suitor or a buyer for him, so they trigger the extension to get the few quid. But I'm left to wonder, we've shop windowed Martial on a number of occasions. He's gone on loan to Sevilla where he produced nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why extend his contract? I think is it the money we've invested in? Because we did pay big money for.
Surely they won't.
I can't understand how his contract would get extended at this point. I think it's just time to go.
Yeah, it has to be.
Even his squad number has changed a couple of times at Man United.
Yeah.
Because
why would he a man's dignity can only get so many kicks.
He doesn't seem like a very
like
dignified man.
$250,000 a week. He doesn't care.
It's almost like
give me whatever number you want.
No, because what was he? He was 9 and then he was 11 at one point, and he's 9 again.
Yeah.
No, he's 11 then 9, and what is he? He's not 9. Is he 9 now still?
Yeah, he's 9 now.
Yeah. So I don't know why he's like. Why does? Again, this is all down to like poor decision making.
Oh, he doesn't care. You know that scene from Zombieland when he's like wiping his tears with the money. That's Anthony Martial every time his number gets changed.
But if you Google Anthony Martial, you'll see him going for dinner in Wetherspoons.
Really? Yeah.
So that tells you a lot about the man. He likes to go to Wetherspoons every Sunday.
He knows where the crack is.
Yeah. Tony Marshall.
So
he looks so annoyed when he has to play, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Right, Martial, they're starting today.
Yeah. But there's always that hope. You remember Skinhead Martial when he first showed up and everyone was convinced this is the turning point. And he scored a goal, I think, the first game he was Skinhead and then back to the normal.
Let's talk about the FA Cup in general. We destroyed the relevance of the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it coincided with rebuilding the stadium. So there was an element of they brought the FA Cup to Cardiff after United pulled out in 99 or 2000, and then it just didn't seem like the same FA Cup, and it struggled to especially when they got rid of the Twin Towers and stuff. Twin Towers, the tower. You don't say Twin Towers, do you, for that?
No,
might be touchy.
The two towers, the Wembley Towers. I don't know.
I know you were talking about a while back though, because you said rebuilding the stadium. It hasn't been done in the last 18 years, but
yeah, it's not quite the same.
No.
How relevant is the FA Cup in general now?
When we win it, like in 2016, to me it was really relevant. But when Liverpool won it last season, it was a Mickey Mouse trophy. The 2 seasons before, when they won the League Cup, and they were touting for 4 trophies. So no, I joke. I still think the FA Cup has a huge bearing, and it's like you do hear genuinely every player talking about they dream of being in an FA Cup final and wanting to win that trophy. I think it has huge merit no matter who wins it. I'd love to win it. I loved when we won it in 2016.
I love the day out of it. It's kind of changed a little bit, but I love the element of the build up. It's a whole day thing.
Yeah.
You know? It bothered me when the FA Cup final was on very late recently. Last year it was on at 8 o'clock in the evening. But for me, it's still relevant.
Yeah.
I still enjoy watching the FA Cup. I'll still watch like over the last couple of days. I've watched a couple of cup games just to see if there was a couple of upsets or whatever.
So I don't think I've missed an FA Cup final, regardless of who's playing in it in years. I'll always get to view it.
Yeah.
So I still think it has.
But Wembley is not the same, is it? Have you been to the new Wembley?
No.
I have.
Over it.
No, I've been in it.
Twin Arches.
Yeah, it's Twin Arches. Yes.
What's wrong with it?
Yeah,
just too.
It's
too
just
touristy,
too,
is it?
I think, like following with what's
too clean.
Following with it's too perfect.
Mm.
If there is such a thing.
Yeah.
When you look at the Bernabeu now and what they've done, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
But there's an element of them building in and around what they already have, which is what you'd hope they do at Old Trafford.
I hope they do at Old Trafford.
Is they keep the same ambience and they build up and around.
I like the Spanish style. Their stadiums are really steep. It's almost like the top tiers are like sitting over the grass, which is really cool. But
yeah, the new camp's like that also.
Yeah.
Which brings me nicely. Even when you look at the new Everton stadium, which is I think like 70% finished now. What would you like to see happen with the new Old Trafford? What would £300 million do for Old Trafford?
Well, would you want to reconstruct it, or would you like to go with the idea of building a new one next door?
I'd like to fix it for a start, and I'd like to build up on the stand and build in and around and make more of it as a user experience. I don't think the actual pitch and the layout of the pitch and the stands and the way that works needs to be changed per se. I think they just need to fix the actual stadium and then make it look a little nicer from the outside, I think.
Cook the chicken a bit more.
Like to
walk
up outside Old Trafford and get that feeling of what that stadium is like. I'd hate to see the back of it, standing outside it is amazing.
It shouldn't be so spherical. I mean, there's a magic to it that you wouldn't like to see change. It is one of those rare venues that still feels like it was.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it to get back to its highest ever capacity.
Yeah.
I think it got bombed years and years ago.
Yeah.
And it had a massive capacity, even bigger than what it is
now. Is that when Man City beat us?
Kelly
scored, why always me?
6-1. Yeah, it was the pain of that. We beat Arsenal 8-2 the season before. That's crosses and roundabouts.
Yeah. Well, they have the space to put on another stand above the Sir Alex Ferguson stand.
I'd say fix the stand, get the stand up, and then just in general terms, just try and make the user experience for the fans a bit better.
Yeah, bring in some new ovens.
Eat some air fryers in there.
Yeah.
Get the rat problem sorted, and stop letting people Yelp review the canteen.
Yeah.
Was it the raw?
Lee Grant's doing his best.
Lee Grant, just build the David May stand above the Sir Alex Ferguson stand.
Amazing. I suppose we'll wrap up with a favourite FA Cup game. United FA Cup game.
Ooh. Tony Marshall scoring against Everton last minute. This is a recent one. That's the first one that came into my mind.
A really, really random one, and seems quite innocuous, but when replays used to happen all the time, and for some reason we had a game against Reading, and we couldn't get through them, couldn't do anything.
Right.
And then in the replay, we were 3-0 up in like 5 minutes, and we got Gabriel Heinze, and another defender to score, and it was all within a matter, like we were 3-0 up in 8 minutes with the three most random goal scorers, and it was just very satisfying. And then they came back hard at us, and the game finished 3-2, but that game in particular was...
Yeah, I think that was like 2006. Reading were shit hot back then.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd say and it's a weird one because it'll show my age for a start, but the 1990 replay when Lee Martin scored, just purely because United were in a very similar position than they're in now, so it meant more. Just to because for a start, Palace were like so defensive against us in the final before the replay, but then in the replay, just to get over the line and just get that trophy, it's one of my earliest memories watching United, and so I'd say that one.
Yeah,
and one that didn't come up there was
Lee Martin's only goal, I might add as well. He's only scored one goal for Man United.
Patrick Vieira misplacing a pass that Ryan Giggs picked up
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's like it was on like a bit of thread and
none of
pulled
us
it back.
picked that, but that was one of the best moments in the club's history.
Yeah.
I actually watched that game. I couldn't watch it. My TV was scrambled because I didn't have Sky Sports. So Schmeichel had just saved the penalty, and I'm hearing all this commentary while it's scrambled, and that went on for a solid 6 hours. Gigs, still gigs, still gigs, still gigs. Oh, unbelievable!
That was a real highlight as well.
And the 2016 final. That was fantastic.
Alan Pardew doing his little dancey dance.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
Jesse Lingard, wasn't it?
Jessica Lingard, yeah.
With the winner.
Yeah, can't get a club Lingard.
Yeah.
Guys, if you like the show, massive welcome to Paul as well. Thanks a million for joining in. If you like the show, you can view it on Spotify. You can listen on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can also support us on Patreon through Spotify. And on thecultofcantona.com, and you can also pop over to buymeacoffee.com/Cult of Cantona, and you can engage with us in that way. Subscribe on YouTube.
What was your favourite FA Cup memory?
What was your favourite?
Let us know.
Yeah, what was yours? Let us know in the comments below. Share the podcast with a friend. And we've a really, really cool interview coming up with Frank Stapleton as well that we'll be putting out independently as well on the show. So, yeah, enjoy the FA Cup, and we shall catch you for the next episode very soon.
Yeah, bye-bye.